I hate this grouping of questions. The story is weird, there's fractions, there's percentages, it's like all over the place. But this is a good reminder that just because there's a group of questions that all relate to the same story, it doesn't mean that the questions are related to each other, right? In fact, there's no reason why if I'm confused on 18, I'm going to have a problem with 19. They're separate questions. I don't need the answer to 18 to answer 19, and they could be on completely different things. They're using the same story, but the skills that we use to solve them could be completely different. The topics could be completely different. The strategies could be completely different. They're not related. So if you're panicking doing 18, don't let that make you think that 19 and 20 are going to be the same nightmare. So this is a weird story, but just take it one at a time and you'll be fine. With 18, too, we're going to use one of my favorite strategies, plug points into equations. Now, how would I know to use that, right? I mean, I do have equations. That's what the choices are. So that would make me ask, especially because I'm confused by the question, that would make me ask, it would be great if I had points. Where can I find some points? Well, they talk about the potassium at the end of the question, or at the end of the story. It says, in addition, each serving of the cereal provides 180 milligrams of potassium, which is 5% of the daily allowance for adults. So daily allowance for adults, it's kind of in the question as well. And that's per one serving. That's a point. When x is 1, p is 5. Right? Now put those words or those numbers into the words of the question and it makes sense. If 5% of an adult's daily allowance of potassium is provided by one serving of crunchy grain cereal per day, which of the following expresses that relationship, right? That's how we're going to do this question. Is we're going to use the information they gave me in the paragraph, and we're going to plug those numbers in. Now, if you just do this by instinct, you might think of something like A or C or D because we think of percentages as decimals, and so 5% as a decimal makes me think of C or D, right? A would be more like 50%, but you can see how someone would be confused. But that's wrong. We are not supposed to think of P as a decimal here because it doesn't say 0.05%, it says 5%. The way the sentence is phrased, we just take the number. We're not converting it to a decimal. And so we just take 5 and we put that in for our P. We just take 1, we put that in for X, and we see which equation here makes sense. So choice A doesn't make sense. 5 is equal to 0.5 times 1. That's not true. 0.5 times 1 is 0.5. So that's wrong. B does make sense. 5 is equal to 5 times 1. Check. Let's try C and D. 5 is equal to 0.05 to the first. Well, no. 0.05 to the first is 0.05. And same problem is going to happen here. 1.05 to the first is 1.05. So B's the answer. I would be very confused by the initial phrasing of that question. But because I'm always looking to use SAT strategies to get unconfused, I would say, well, I've got equations, I'd love some points, and then also, this is kind of like a little bit of an arithmetize, where I'm taking the variables which are hard for my brain to understand, and I'm coming up with real numbers so that I can phrase this question with numbers instead of with variables. And it becomes a little bit more sensical to me. I understand what I'm reading more. So all of the strategies in general in the SAT are about taking algebra, which is abstract, and turning it into concrete numbers, which our brain is just better at. So that's why I'm so insistent on using the strategies, is I know the brain is, with algebra, in a place where it's not very comfortable. So we want to make it more comfortable. The strategies get us back to a place where we're comfortable and where we can get points more easily.